The story of Caleb actually starts before I was even born. My mother was in a car accident when she was pregnant with me, and she was left permanently handicapped and blind and short-term memory because of the accident. So before I was born, I wasn't even supposed to be born. The doctors gave me a 5% chance of living, and if I was going to be alive, I was going to have severe mental and physical handicaps. To the glory of God, none of that happened. I survived, and my mom survived. After a few years of growing up with my mother as a disabled person, this made everything very unique because I grew up with my grandparents and my mom, and my grandfather was always there for me, and he was like my father figure because my father wasn't in my life. And my grandmother kind of stepped through as like my mother. So as much as I grew up with my mom, she wasn't really like that mother figure to me because she wasn't able to. So my junior year of high school was a really big year because I had just received a scholarship offer to the University of Maine to play football. And then that fall I broke my leg. My senior year I also broke my leg, but after I broke my leg the first time, they took away that scholarship offer, and I was kind of left scrambling on what I was going to do with my future. I was, pondering on what I was going to do, and then my junior year, something even crazier happened. I became homeless. I had to leave home because of certain situations that I didn't feel comfortable being there, and so I chose to leave. And for a while, I actually lived out of my truck, and this was the middle of the winter in Maine. I'd literally sleep in my truck behind a grocery store. And a lot of people didn't know about that because I was kind of ashamed of who I was right then and how I'd gotten there. And I told people that I was sleeping here or sleeping there. My life consisted of going to school at 7 till 3. I would go to work from around 3:30 until probably around 9:30, 10:30. Then I would possibly go over to my wife's house, like she was my girlfriend at the time, have dinner, and then I would drive down to the grocery store as soon as I get out, park my truck behind it, and go to bed. And I did this for around 6 months until some people found out that I was living out of my truck, and they offered me to live with them, and that was awesome for a little bit. But the thing is, they were trying to charge me rent for a couch in their son's bedroom because I was really good friends with their son, and they were trying to charge me a lot of money for rent, and I just couldn't afford it, so I had to move out of that again. I was praying to God, and this is when I really came to God, and I heard God's voice for the first time. I remember just all of a sudden feeling this rush of peace over me while I was in my car, and I was crying, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I felt extremely lost. And so I prayed to God, and I was like, God, just help me get out of this. Help me, be the man that you want me to be, and let me be free of this. And I remember just feeling this rush of serenity come over me. At this time was when I really started going to church a lot more, and this is when I started growing in faith because I started to realize that the world wasn't there to help me, and the world wasn't there to protect me, but really the only person that always had my heart in mind and my life in mind was God. And eventually I moved back in with my family after a long talk and regained that relationship, which was crucial because I was back, being able to take care of my mom again, as well as with my family where I should be. I don't believe that my personal opinion is higher than God's, and so that allows me to realize if God's forgiven them, then I must forgive them because my opinion doesn't matter more than God's. After losing my scholarship offer, I was still pretty lost with athletics wise on what I was going to do. And so I decided to come to Crown because I wanted that faith relationship implemented into my education. And so I came to Crown, and I knew that I'd have the opportunity to play football and that I would have an opportunity to grow in faith. Once I got here, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people, with the school, with the education. Everything about it was just absolutely marvelous. And then I get a call from my grandfather saying that my mother had been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. I was told that my mom had 6 months to live, and that was something that was really hard to deal with. I remember thinking that my mom was about to die. I believe that if I wasn't at Crown, I would have turned to a very dark place spiritually and fallen away from God. But Instead, I learned to trust God's plan.